The galaxy had grown used to quiet skies. Trade routes were busy, war was rare, and most species had learned to live without fear of sudden invasions. That calm was shattered one morning when a small alien probe drifted close to Earth and picked up something impossible. From deep beneath the blue oceans came a vibration so powerful it shook the sensors apart. The probe's cameras caught a glimpse of shadows far below the waves. Shapes. Large shapes. Thousands of them. At first, the alien scientists thought it was just an earthquake. Then the shapes began to move upward, on the alien scout ship circling. Above Earth, Captain Vera stood frozen before the feed. The view showed boiling water where moments before there had been calm seas. Vast plumes of steam hissed upward as something metallic breached the surface. Not one, not 10, but hundreds at once. Towers of steel and black armor plates rose from the ocean, as if the sea itself was giving birth to war. Buzz whispered into the com, voice trembling. Something is waking up. The message was sent across subspace, bouncing between relay stations until it reached the Galactic Council. Within hours, every major power in the galaxy knew something strange had begun on Earth. The council chamber buzzed with voices. Some delegates laughed, calling it human theater. Others frowned, remembering that humans were unpredictable. A few archivists pulled out old restricted files. They spoke in low voices about rumors of a hidden fleet, a ghost story told to frighten cadets. Meanwhile, on Earth, no official word came from the human government. No broadcasts, no warnings, no explanations. The world's oceans churned as more and more colossal ships emerged, water cascading down their sides. The ships had no flags, no signs of human ownership. Instead, strange glowing symbols covered their armor. Symbols older than human history itself. Alien news networks began streaming the event live. Across the galaxy, billions tuned in to watch the endless rise of the machines. The feeds showed ships larger than cities, their hulls layered with weapons, whose designs no one recognized. Viewers watched in silence as the fleet's scale became clear. Not hundreds, not thousands, millions. The number was so large that some refused to believe the footage was real. Yet the sensors didn't lie. The oceans kept giving birth to more steel monsters, each one joining the growing wall of warships. From a quiet observation post on Jupiter's moon Callisto, a lone historian stared at the screens and felt a cold weight in his chest. The markings on those ships matched something he had seen once in a forbidden archive. The Planet Killer Fleet. According to the lost records, it was a force built in an age before humans even existed. No one knew who had made it. No one knew why it was buried on Earth. The historian began to send warnings to his superiors, but the system jammed. Someone in the council didn't want this knowledge spread. Out at sea, storms formed around the rising giants. Their engines boiled the surface into mist. Flocks of birds scattered in panic and whales dove deep to escape. A fishing vessel accidentally drifted too close and was instantly pushed away by an invisible force, as though the water itself had turned into a shield. Pilots in low orbit reported that the ocean fleet wasn't just rising randomly. Were moving into perfect formation, forming rings and layers, as though preparing for a war no one else could see. In the skies above, alien ships belonging to nearby traders stopped their routes to watch. Some broadcast questions toward Earth, but none received a reply. The silence from humanity was more unsettling than the fleet itself. If humans were afraid, they weren't showing it. If they were proud, they weren't celebrating. If they had expected this all along, back in the council, debates turned into shouting. Some demanded the fleet be destroyed before it grew too strong. Others argued that it might be a defensive measure against some unknown threat. A small number suspected the most dangerous possibility, that it wasn't under human control at all. Yet for all the voices in the chamber, none could explain why the ships bore symbols from a language older than the stars. As the first day ended, the numbers became undeniable. The oceans had released more warships than the galaxy had seen in any single battle in living memory. From the smallest corvette to ships the size of moons, they floated above the water, weapons silent but ready. Alien analysts tried to predict Their next move, but every simulation failed. The fleet didn't match any known tactics. It didn't follow any known rules. Then, just as night fell over the Atlantic, something massive rose among them. It was larger than anything yet seen. A ship so vast that waves from its emergence reached distant shores. Its armor was black as space, its surface lined with glowing blue veins of energy. It made no sound. It flew no banner. It pointed its prow not toward the stars, but toward the planet itself, as if protecting something deep within. Across the galaxy, those watching felt a shiver they couldn't explain. Whatever had risen from Earth's oceans, it wasn't here by chance. It was here with a purpose. The galaxy waited for an explanation, but none came. Hours passed, then a full day, and still humanity said nothing. The silence felt heavier than the fleet itself. On hundreds of alien worlds, people gathered in plazas and taverns, staring at public screens showing endless rows of steel giants resting above the waves. The alien news anchors spoke in hushed voices, as if afraid the warships could hear them. In the council, messages were sent to Earth, each more urgent than the last. Every single one went unanswered. The human government released no statements, no warnings, no threats. It was as if the entire species had decided to simply watch with the rest of the galaxy. Out on the open seas, the warships continued to shift into perfect formation. They moved with the same precision as a single army, their massive shadows darkening. The waters beneath them. Sensors picked up low-frequency pulses coming from the ships, steady and deliberate, like the heartbeat of some ancient beast. The meaning of those pulses was unknown, but every signal was perfectly synchronized across the entire fleet. For some alien observers, the pattern was unnerving. It was too perfect, too alive. Stranger still were the symbols on their hulls. A glowed brighter with each passing hour, intricate patterns twisting across the black metal skin. Linguists from over 30 worlds tried to translate them, but they didn't match any known galactic language. An alien scholar named Tovin Vren made a chilling announcement on a live broadcast. He claimed the symbols were not a language at all, but coordinates. When plotted on a star map, the coordinates formed a path, one that led deep beyond the galaxy's edge into uncharted darkness. Rumors began spreading faster than the news. Some claimed humans had discovered alien technology buried on their planet and activated it. Others believed Earth had been hiding its true military power for centuries, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. A smaller, more fearful group whispered that the fleet did not belong to humanity at all, and that the real owners were coming to reclaim it, in a secure wing of the council building. Archivists worked in silence. They dug into restricted files older than most member species. A fragment of text described a fleet built for a war so ancient it had been erased from history. The fleet was said to have been hidden on a young and unimportant world until the day it was needed again. No one knew why Earth had been chosen. Some thought it was random. Others thought it was destiny. The archivists never got the chance to publish their findings. Minutes after the document was opened, their access was revoked and their terminals shut down remotely. Meanwhile, in orbit, a small flotilla of alien ships drifted closer to Earth to investigate. The fleet below ignored them at first, but the moment one ship's sensors locked onto a warship's hull, a ripple passed through the formation. Every ship turned its weapons toward the intruder in perfect unison. No shots were fired, no warnings were spoken. The alien ships immediately retreated, shaken by the silent, absolute precision of the response. Across the galaxy, people kept watching. The warships had not attacked, but they had not spoken either. It was a kind of standoff no one knew how to break. Some governments prepared their armies just in case, but most leaders hesitated. Attacking such a force might be suicide. Leaving it alone might be worse. Then something unexpected happened. Deep space telescopes stationed beyond Saturn picked up movement from the fleet, not all at once, but in carefully chosen waves, sections. Of the ocean armada began rising higher into the atmosphere. Their movement was slow and deliberate, as if every action had been planned long ago. Analysts scrambled to figure out their destination. First it seemed they were preparing to leave Earth entirely, but then the data became clear. They weren't leaving. Were positioning themselves in a vast, spherical formation around the planet, sealing it off from all directions from that moment on. Nothing could enter or leave Earth without passing through the largest war blockade in known history. The message was clear without a single word being spoken.
Earth was closed.
Whatever was happening down there was no longer the galaxy's business. That night, under the cold glow of 1,000 alien eyes watching from light years away, the fleet completed its formation. It was not a wall. It was a cage. And for the first time, the galaxy began to wonder if the humans were the ones trapped inside, or if they were the ones the rest of the galaxy needed to fear. In the days that followed, the alien fleets that had been watching from a safe distance began to test the blockade. Most came under the banner of curiosity, sending scout drones and unarmed survey craft toward the edges of the formation. Warships did not fire, but each time a vessel drew near, the nearest warship turned to face it, weapons locked. The movement was unnervingly fast for ships of their size, as if they had been waiting for each approach. No words, no signals, no threats, just the silent promise of instant destruction if the line was crossed. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore the situation. The chamber filled with diplomats, generals, and scientists, their voices rising. In heated debate, some demanded an immediate combined assault to break the blockade before the fleet's power grew any greater. Others argued that the ships had made no aggressive moves outside of protecting Earth's perimeter, and provoking them could be disastrous. Amid the chaos, a human representative finally stood, tall and calm. When given the floor, she spoke. Only 9 words. "This is not our fleet, but it will fight for us." The statement sent shockwaves through the chamber. It was not a denial of ownership, nor an admission. It was a warning wrapped in a promise. The council pressed her for details, but she refused to speak further. She left the chamber without a backward glance, her words already being broadcast to billions across the galaxy. Back on Earth, the fleet's behavior changed. The warships began turning their weapon arrays outward, away from the planet. Barrels of unfamiliar design extended from their hulls, energy fields sparking around them in strange patterns. Long-range scanners from alien observation ships reported that the fleet's power levels were climbing to extremes no known vessel could withstand without burning itself out. And yet, the fleet did so effortlessly, as if its weapons were built for this kind of constant, impossible strain. One alien captain, a daring explorer named Sether, decided to risk a closer approach. His crew warned him against it, but he argued that no progress could be made without understanding what these ships truly were. His small vessel crept toward the blockade, broadcasting peaceful intent in every known language. At first, the nearest warship ignored him. Then, without warning, it moved. It was like watching a mountain shift in an instant. Sether's ship was caught in a sudden flash of light, not a beam, not a blast, but something stranger. One moment they were there, the next moment they were not. No explosion, no debris, no trace. Their signal was gone. The nearby ships returned to their original positions as though nothing had happened. When news of Sether's disappearance reached the galaxy, panic spread. No one understood what weapon had been used. Theories ranged from dimensional erasure to complete matter disintegration, but the message was clear to all. This was not a fleet to be tested, and yet not everyone believed it was hostile. On one distant colony, an old alien scholar told his students that such technology was too clean, too precise, to be meant for conquest. It was a weapon of control, not chaos. A blade that does not wish to cut, he called it, were so words ignored in the rising tide of fear. Meanwhile, far above the blockade, hidden in the cold dark of high orbit, an ancient human satellite flickered to life for the first time in centuries. Its signal pulsed faintly toward the fleet, and in answer, one of the largest warships shifted position and aimed its prow not at the stars beyond, but at a point deep in the black between galaxies. The fleet, it seemed, was not waiting for the galaxy to come to it. It was waiting for something else entirely. Without warning, the warships spoke for the first time. The message came not in sound, but in light, radio gravity waves, and every other form of communication known to the galaxy. It was clear in every tongue, on every channel, and even in the minds of those who could not hear. 6 simple words carried across the stars: "Do not approach Earth. This is your only warning." The effect was immediate. Entire planetary governments froze in place. Trade fleets rerouted their paths. Civilian transports turned back mid-journey. Even the most aggressive empires hesitated, sensing the weight behind those words. The Galactic Council was thrown into a storm of arguments. Some demanded a preemptive strike before Earth's mysterious guardians decided to expand their control. Others insisted on leaving the planet alone at all costs. A few quiet voices suggested a different fear, that the fleet's warning was not meant for the Council at all, but for something else entirely. As debates raged, classified data leak exploded across the galactic networks. Grainy footage from deep within Earth's oceans showed massive steel shapes sleeping beneath miles of water, their hulls covered in centuries of coral and sediment. The images were dated decades before the present day. It meant humans had known about the fleet long before this moment, and they had kept the secret from the galaxy. The leak triggered a frenzy of questions. Why had they hidden it? Were they in control of it, or merely guarding it? No human authority came forward to answer. On the ocean's surface, the fleet grew restless. Small groups of warships began moving out of their defensive ring, but not toward the stars. Instead, they shifted their guns skyward, their targeting systems, locking onto a point far beyond Earth's moon. At first, the observers thought they were tracking some distant asteroid or rogue satellite. Then the readings changed. Something was coming. Something large, high above the planet in the black between worlds. Strange distortions shimmered against the stars. Long-range sensors from alien observers picked up faint ripples, as if space itself was bending inward. A slow, steady pulse echoed from the fleet in response, the same heartbeat-like signal they had been sending since their awakening. Growing louder, faster, sharper, the Council scrambled to respond. They dispatched stealth drones to gather information, but none made it past the blockade. One vanished in silence, leaving no trace. It was as if the very space they had entered had been erased. Still, the warships ignored the Council's movements entirely, their attention fixed on that growing distortion in the void. Then, late into the night cycle on most Council worlds, the lead warship, a black titan twice the length of the others, shifted its stance. Its massive energy spines unfolded like the wings of some colossal predator. One by one, the other ships mirrored its motion until the entire fleet bristled with weapons aimed not at Earth, but at the approaching darkness. Whatever the fleet had been waiting for, it was nearly here. The distortion in the void tore open like a wound in the night. From its spilled shapes, unlike anything the galaxy had catalogued, biomechanical leviathans, their bodies a grotesque mix of metal and living flesh.
Ow.
They moved in silence, their wings of bone glinting with cold light, their hulls twisting as though alive. At first only a dozen emerged, then hundreds, then thousands, till the stars themselves were drowned behind their swarming forms. They did not broadcast. They did not signal. They simply advanced. The planet-killer fleet moved the moment the first creature crossed the event horizon. There was no hesitation, no Council approval, no attempt at communication. Millions of warships broke formation and surged forward, their black holes cutting through space like a tide of steel. Energy flared along their weapons, but it was not the kind of firepower the galaxy knew. Beams of light folded into razor edges, missiles bent, and impossible curves and bursts of gravity crushed the enemy from distances too great to measure. The Leviathan screamed in frequencies that made entire alien populations shudder on far-off worlds. Watching from hidden observation ships, alien crews realized the scale of the battle was beyond anything they had imagined. The human oceans had hidden a fleet that fought as one mind, every ship moving in perfect harmony. When a Leviathan lunged at one warship, 3 others were already in position to tear it apart. When enemy fire struck, the formation absorbed the blow, shifting instantly to protect the damaged vessel. There was no panic, no confusion, only cold, flawless execution. In the Galactic Council chambers, the debate stopped. Representatives, who had shouted for attack, now sat in stunned silence. The realization spread slowly. This fleet was not built to fight them. It was built to fight these. Without it, the galaxy would have been defenseless. On the outer rim, a civilian transport paused its route to watch from a safe distance. Families crowded around its observation deck, watching the distant flickers of war. Somewhere in the chaos, a channel opened across every alien device in range. A voice spoke in old, unpolished human English, a voice weathered with age, steady and certain. We were built for this day. The message spread faster than the battle itself, rebroadcast in 1,000 languages. Some found comfort in it. Others found fear. All understood its meaning. The fleet was not a sleeping relic or a forgotten weapon. It was a promise, left on Earth, for the day the darkness returned. Hours passed. Invaders pushed hard. Their numbers seemingly endless, but the planet-killer fleet never broke. Ship after ship fell in the enemy's path, only for another to slide in and take its place. For every warship lost, 10 Leviathans died screaming in the void. From across the galaxy, people watched without blinking. It was the most witnessed battle in recorded history, and it was still only the beginning. Deep within the Tyran space, something larger was stirring, something even the fleet seemed to brace itself against. Whatever it was, the final round was still to come. The Tyran space widened until it eclipsed an entire starfield. From its burning edges emerged a single Leviathan so vast that even the largest of the planet-killer warships looked like insects beside it. Its body was a nightmare of shifting. Metal bones and molten veins, its wings stretching wide enough to blot out moons. Every movement bent the space around it, sending ripples across the battlefield. The lesser Leviathans scattered from its path, as if bowing to their king. Planet-killer fleet did not retreat. Instead, the largest human-aligned warship surged forward to meet the behemoth head-on. The rest of the fleet reformed in an instant, tightening into a deadly sphere around the intruder. Energy levels spiked beyond safe thresholds, the glow of their weapons turning the darkness of space into a blinding day. Across the galaxy, billions watched in silence, their screens filled with the light of an ancient war reborn. The Leviathan struck first. A beam of white-hot destruction lanced through the void, vaporizing dozens of warships in its path. But where any normal fleet would have faltered, the planet-killer ships filled the gap instantly, returning fire from every angle. The sky became a storm of impossible weapons. Gravity nets that collapsed the enemy's armor inward. Pulses that froze its living systems mid-motion. Spears of pure energy that drilled into its heart. The giant roared in a soundless scream that vibrated through every observer's bones. The battle raged for what felt like days but lasted less than an hour. The behemoth fought with relentless fury, but it was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and outmatched. At last, the lead warship plunged straight into the creature's core, a final suicidal strike that tore both into shreds of burning debris. Moment it died, the Tyran space began to collapse, sucking the remaining enemy ships back into the void from which they came. Within minutes, the stars were still again. The cost was staggering. Thousands of planet-killer warships had been destroyed, their hulks drifting lifeless in orbit, yet the victory was complete. The survivors turned in perfect formation and descended toward Earth, slipping one by one beneath the oceans, as if nothing had happened. The waters swallowed them without a ripple, hiding the galaxy's greatest army once more. On the council worlds, there was no cheering, no declaration of triumph. Only a stunned quiet as the realization sank in Earth had just saved them all, and they had almost fired upon it. When the human representative finally returned to the council floor, she spoke only once. "The fleet will sleep again. Pray. You never wake it." And then she left, leaving the galaxy to grapple with what it had seen. Earth was no longer a primitive rock on the edge of the stars. It was a fortress, an ancient sentinel armed with 1,000,000 warships, waiting in silence. Beneath the waves, the galaxy could only watch and wonder when the oceans would rise again.